100 square feet of lawn is not a grand estate. It is a 10 by 10 patch, roughly the size of a small bedroom, a parking space, or the area your mower treats like a personal subscription service. Yet that little square can feed native bees, host butterfly caterpillars, give migrating insects a place to refuel, and still look intentional enough that your neighbors do not assume you have abandoned civilization. In this video, you are going to turn that patch of grass into a native pollinator garden with an exact layout, a realistic budget, a first-year care plan, and regional plant examples for different parts of the United States. You will also avoid the mistake that turns many new pollinator beds into a weed convention by midsummer. The lawn may be offended. It will recover emotionally. Step 1. Choose the 100 square feet that will actually work. A 10 by 10 square is easy to measure, but it is not always the best shape. A 5 by 20 strip along a fence can be easier to view. A 4 by 25 border beside a driveway can turn a dead edge into a ribbon of flowers. An 8 by 12 bed with a small curve gives you almost the same area and usually looks less like you buried a trampoline. The best location gets at least 6 hours of direct sun if you want the widest choice of native flowers. Full sun supports many milkweeds, asters, goldenrods, blazing stars, coneflowers, native mints, and warm season grasses. Partial shade can still work, but the plant list changes. Then you may be looking at woodland phlox, wild columbine, violets, zigzag goldenrod, native sedges, or regionally appropriate shade plants. Do not guess at the light. Watch the area for one clear day. Check it in the morning, around noon, and in late afternoon. A patch that looks sunny while you drink coffee may spend the rest of the day hiding behind the garage like it owes someone money. Also think about visibility. Put the garden where you will see it from a kitchen window, porch, walkway, or patio. You are more likely to notice weeds, thirsty plants, caterpillars, and the first bee of spring when the bed is part of daily life. A pollinator garden hidden behind the shed may still help insects, but you miss half the pleasure. Finally, keep a sensible distance from underground utilities, septic systems, and property lines. Before serious digging, use the local utility locating service, and check any homeowner association rules before you create a front yard prairie and discover that Brenda from Architectural Review has developed sudden expertise in ecological restoration. The verdict is simple. Choose sun, choose visibility, and choose a shape you can reach without stepping into the bed. Pollinators need habitat, you need access. Your lower back also gets a vote. Step 2. Read the site before you buy a single plant. There are 3 things to learn: drainage, soil texture, and existing troublemakers. For drainage, dig a small test hole about 8 inches deep, fill it with water, let it drain, then fill it again. You are not conducting a laboratory trial for a space agency. You are simply watching whether water disappears at a reasonable pace or sits there like an unwanted house guest. If the hole remains soggy for a long time, choose moisture-tolerant plants or move the bed. Do not buy dry prairie species and then install them in a backyard soup bowl. They will not admire your optimism. Next, squeeze a damp handful of soil. Sandy soil falls apart easily and drains fast. Clay forms a sticky ribbon and holds water. Loam sits somewhere between the two and behaves like the child in the family who rarely causes a scene. None of these soils is automatically bad. They simply call for different native plants. Then inspect the grass and weeds already present. Ordinary cool season lawn grass is one thing. Bermuda grass, quackgrass, bindweed, nutsedge, or aggressive creeping weeds are another. Those plants can push through mulch, cardboard, and your confidence. Identify them before bed preparation, because a method that works beautifully on lawn may barely inconvenience a rhizomatous weed. This is where people often rush to improve the soil with bags of compost, topsoil, fertilizer, manure, mushroom compost, seaweed extract, and probably something sold in a bottle with a hummingbird wearing sunglasses. Slow down. Many native plants perform best in the soil conditions they evolved with. Rich soil can make prairie plants grow tall, soft, and floppy. Excess fertility can favor weeds. Unless the soil is badly compacted, contaminated, or almost entirely construction rubble, you usually need less amendment than the garden center would enjoy selling you. The site tells you what to plant. The shopping cart does not. Learn the ground first, and you avoid spending good money on plants that were doomed before the receipt cooled. Step 3. define what native means in your garden. A plant can be native to the United States and still be wrong for your county. The country stretches from wet coastal forests to high desert, from northern prairie to subtropical Florida. Calling a plant American and assuming it belongs everywhere is like calling clam chowder and Texas chili the same regional cuisine because both arrive in bowls. Your job is to narrow the map. Start with your state native plant society, county extension office, regional conservation district, or a respected native plant database, such as the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center. Look for plants native to your state and preferably to your ecoregion or nearby counties. Then match those plants to your actual sun, soil, and moisture. This matters for 3 reasons. First, local native plants are more likely to handle your weather without constant rescue. Second, local insects may have specific relationships with those plants. Third, you reduce the risk of using a species that behaves aggressively outside its natural range. Do not become so strict that you spend 6 months arguing with yourself over a county line while the lawn continues producing absolutely nothing but mowing. A practical garden can use regionally native species, nearby native species that fit the conditions, and a few carefully chosen non-invasive plants if needed. But the backbone should be local. Also ask whether the nursery plants are straight species, local ecotypes, or cultivars. Straight species and local ecotypes are often the safest ecological choice. Some cultivars also provide useful nectar and pollen, but heavily doubled flowers, dramatic color changes, or unusually compact forms can reduce access or alter the value to insects. A flower bred to look like a pom-pom may impress humans while presenting a locked pantry to a bee. The honest rule is this: buy the most locally appropriate, clearly identified, pesticide-free plants you can reasonably find. Perfection is not required, thoughtfulness is. And avoid mystery wildflower mixes unless every species is listed and suitable for your region. A packet labeled Pollinator Paradise can contain annual fillers, non-native species, or plants that disappear after 1 season. That is not a plan, that is botanical gambling with a cheerful label. Step 4. Remove the lawn without creating a second job for yourself. You have 3 practical methods: cutting out the sod, smothering it, or solarizing it. Each works, but they fit different timelines. Cutting out sod gives the fastest clean start. Use a flat spade or rented sod cutter, remove the grass and the top layer of roots, then loosen only obvious compaction. This is useful when you want to plant immediately. The downside is labor, soil disturbance, and the possibility of removing valuable topsoil. It is satisfying for about 20 minutes, after which the lawn begins to feel surprisingly well attached to the planet. Smothering is slower but easier. Mow the grass very short. Cover the area with overlapping sheets of plain brown cardboard. Remove tape and glossy coatings. Wet the cardboard, then add 2 to 3 inches of arborist wood chips or shredded leaves. Leave no gaps, because grass has the tactical intelligence of a prison escape crew. Give it several months if possible. Fall preparation for spring planting works beautifully. Cardboard is not mandatory. Several layers of newspaper, thick leaf mulch, or an opaque silage tarp can also block light. Avoid leaving plastic fragments in the soil, and do not use synthetic landscape fabric under a perennial pollinator bed. Fabric eventually fills with roots and weeds, then becomes an archaeological layer future gardeners curse by name. Solarization uses clear plastic during the hottest, sunniest part of the year. Moist soil is covered tightly for several weeks so heat builds underneath. It can kill grass and some weed seeds near the surface, but results depend on climate, season, and how well the plastic is sealed. In cool or cloudy regions, solarization may perform like a sauna with the door open. For Bermuda grass, bindweed, quackgrass, and other persistent weeds, take extra time. Repeated removal, careful edging, and a longer smothering period may be needed. Do not rush into planting through living aggressive grass. That is the midsummer weed convention I warned you about. The flowers become the invited guests, and the weeds arrive with 20 cousins. Whichever method you choose, create a crisp edge, a spade cut edge, stone border, metal edging, or narrow mown strip signals that the bed is intentional. Wildlife friendly does not have to look like the county forgot to finish a road project. Kill the grass thoroughly, keep the edge clean. Your future self will send you a thank you note written entirely in fewer weeds. Step 5. Build a bloom calendar, not a flower shopping spree. Pollinators need food across the season. One glorious burst in June, followed by 3 months of green silence, is a restaurant that serves lunch once a year. Beautiful, perhaps. Useful, not quite. For 100 square feet, aim for at least 2 species that bloom early, 3 that bloom in summer, and 2 that bloom late. Add 1 or 2 grasses or sedges for structure, nesting material, shelter, and winter interest. That gives you roughly 8 or 9 species, which is enough variety to create a long season without turning the bed into botanical speed dating. Early flowers matter because queens, early emerging native bees, and other insects may be active before summer gardens wake up. Depending on region, early options might include golden alexanders, wild columbine, woodland phlox, native violets, spring beauty, Oregon sunshine, California poppy, or lance-leaf coreopsis. Summer is the obvious feast. This is where milkweeds, bee balms, mountain mints, blazing stars, native sages, coneflowers, coreopsis, blanket flowers, and many regional favorites earn their space. Late flowers are often the missing piece. Asters and goldenrods can carry the garden into fall when many ornamental beds have already put on beige pajamas. Goldenrod deserves a defense attorney, by the way. Its heavy pollen is carried mainly by insects. Ragweed, which releases light airborne pollen at the same time, is usually the plant committing the allergy crime. Goldenrod just happens to be standing nearby wearing a bright yellow jacket. Now add at least one host plant. Nectar feeds adult butterflies, but caterpillars need specific leaves. Monarch caterpillars use milkweeds. Many fritillaries use violets. Black swallowtail caterpillars use plants in the carrot family, including native members where appropriate. Different butterflies have different contracts, and they are not flexible negotiators. Do not forget specialist bees. Some native bees collect pollen from a limited group of plants, including asters, sunflowers, squash relatives, evening primroses, or native mallows. A locally native plant can feed a relationship that a generic ornamental never touches. The simple formula is 2 early, 3 summer, 2 late, 1 host role, and 2 structural grasses or sedges. Some plants can fill more than 1 role. That is not cheating. That is efficient gardening, which is the respectable cousin of laziness. Step 6. Choose a regional plant team that fits your conditions. This is not a national prescription. These are starting points, and every species still needs to match your local range, soil, moisture, and mature size. In the Northeast and much of the Midwest, a sunny, average to dry bed might combine golden alexanders for spring, butterfly milkweed and wild bergamot for summer, mountain mint for an insect-feeding frenzy, New England aster and a locally native goldenrod for fall, then little bluestem for copper-colored winter structure. Mountain mint can spread, so give it a boundary or choose a better-behaved regional species. It attracts so many small bees and wasps that the flowers can look like an airport during a holiday weekend. In the southeast, look at lance-leaf coreopsis, lyre-leaf sage, spotted bee balm, blazing star, swamp milkweed where soil stays moist, blue mistflower, a native sunflower, and pink mooly grass. The southeast is not one climate, so a plant happy in a Florida sandhill may sulk in Appalachian clay. Match the ecoregion, not the postcard. Across Texas and parts of the Great Plains, possible choices include plains coreopsis, mealy blue sage, prairie verbena, antelope horns milkweed, blazing star, Greg's mistflower where locally appropriate, goldenrod, and little bluestem. Texas alone contains more ecological variety than some countries, so anyone offering one perfect Texas list is either very brave or selling something. In California, consider California poppy, common yarrow, regionally appropriate native sages, narrow-leaf milkweed where it belongs, California fuchsia for late-season color, native buckwheats, seaside daisy near suitable coastal areas, and a native bunchgrass. California fuchsia lights up late summer with red-orange tubular flowers when the landscape looks baked enough to toast bread. In the Pacific Northwest, sunny sites may support Oregon sunshine, common yarrow, showy milkweed in its native range, Douglas aster, golden goldenrod, western columbine in lighter shade, and tufted hairgrass or another local grass. Wet winter soil and dry summer soil can exist in the same yard, because apparently the climate enjoys keeping gardeners humble. If you are in the desert southwest, Florida, the Gulf Coast, Mountain West, or another distinct region, use the same roles but choose a local cast: early bloom, summer bloom, fall bloom, host plant, and structure. The job descriptions stay the same. The employees change, and here is the honest limitation. 100 square feet cannot represent an entire ecosystem. It will not save every pollinator in the county, and it will not become a self-sustaining prairie overnight, but it can become a reliable feeding station, nesting edge, and stepping stone between larger habitats. Small does not mean pointless, it means focused. Step 7. Lay out the bed in drifts, not lonely little specimens. For 100 square feet, a useful starting density is around 24 to 30 small plugs, or roughly 18 to 24 larger quart-sized plants, depending on mature width. Read the mature spacing on the plant label, then verify it with a reliable regional source. Plant tags sometimes describe a polite young plant. The mature plant may have the social boundaries of a marching band. A simple plan uses 9 species in groups of 3. 2 early bloomers, 3 summer bloomers, 2 fall bloomers, and 2 grasses or sedges. That gives you 27 plants. If a species becomes 3 feet wide, use fewer. If it stays compact, a group of 5 may look better. Place taller plants toward the back if the bed is viewed from one side. If the garden is visible from all directions, place taller plants near the center and step down toward the edges. Keep the lowest, neatest plants along walkways and the front border. This makes the garden look designed even when the center is busy with seed heads, stems, and insects behaving like they own the place, which, ecologically speaking, they do. Repeat colors and shapes. 3 milkweeds together are easier for a monarch to find than 1 milkweed hiding between 8 unrelated plants. A cluster of asters creates a stronger fall signal than a single flower waving from the back like someone trying to hail a taxi. Leave small gaps at planting, but design for mature coverage. Bare soil invites weeds. The goal is for plant leaves to touch or nearly touch once established, creating a living mulch. Do not cram everything together on day 1, because crowded plants trap moisture and compete. You are building a community, not loading a subway car. Include a small open patch of well-drained bare soil if your garden and local conditions allow it. Many native bees nest in the ground. They do not need an expensive bee hotel with a tiny roof and a real estate brochure. They need undisturbed soil, suitable texture, and freedom from mulch in a limited area. A few hollow or pithy stems can support cavity nesting insects too, but habitat comes from the whole garden. Stems, leaves, soil, plant diversity, and pesticide-free management matter more than one decorative object. Before planting, set every pot on the soil and walk away. View the layout from the window, sidewalk, and patio. Move plants while they are still in pots. Once roots are in the ground, suddenly every adjustment becomes character building. The verdict here is simple. Plant in visible groups, repeat the best performers, and make the bed readable from a distance. One of everything looks like a clearance cart tipped over. Repetition looks intentional. Step 8. Shop like a gardener, not like a person who has just entered a casino with a wheelbarrow. Start with a written list. Include botanical names, mature size, bloom season, sun needs, moisture needs, and quantity. Common names can refer to different plants, so the botanical name is the closest thing gardening has to checking identification at the door. Ask the nursery whether the plants were treated with systemic insecticides, especially neonicotinoids. A plant sold for pollinators should not arrive carrying chemicals through its tissues. That is like opening a health food restaurant and seasoning everything with brake fluid. Look for native plant nurseries, conservation district sales, botanical garden sales, local grower events, and native plant society sales. Small plugs are often the best value. They look unimpressive at purchase, but roots establish quickly, and you can afford groups instead of lonely specimens. Larger pots give faster visual impact, but they cost more and can suffer greater transplant stress in heat. For a budget version, buy 24 to 30 plugs and use free cardboard, free leaves, and free arborist wood chips where available. Depending on local prices, the plants may cost roughly $100 to $200. Add edging only if needed. A mid-range version uses a mix of plugs and quart pots, perhaps $200 to $400 total, with mulch and simple edging. A high-impact version with larger containers, stone, purchased compost, and decorative features can climb past $500 before you have time to ask why one grass costs the same as dinner. Seeds are cheaper, but a seeded meadow is a different project. It requires careful site preparation, regional seed selection, patience, and skilled weed management. For a first 100 square feet near the house, plugs provide much more control. You can place each species, protect it, identify it, and avoid spending the first year asking whether that green sprout is a treasure or a criminal. If you are finding this useful, subscribe. We build practical pollinator gardens without turning every project into an expensive pilgrimage through the garden center. Now keep your receipts, label your plants, and resist the annual rack of mystery flowers. The store is designed to make you fall in love one pot at a time. Your plan is designed to make the whole bed work. Step 9. Plant without burying the crown or pampering the roots into weakness. Plant on a cool, cloudy day if possible, or work in the morning. Water the pots before planting. Dig each hole about as deep as the root ball and a little wider. The top of the root ball should sit level with the surrounding soil, not 3 inches below it in a private underground bunker. If roots circle tightly around the pot, loosen them gently. For severely root-bound plants, make a few shallow vertical cuts. Do not tear every root apart as if the plant has personally insulted your family. The goal is to encourage outward growth, not perform an interrogation. Backfill mostly with the original soil. A hole filled with rich compost inside poor surrounding soil can behave like a flower pot in the ground, holding water and keeping roots inside the amended pocket. If the entire bed genuinely needs organic matter, apply a modest layer across the surface rather than creating isolated luxury suites. Water each plant deeply after planting, then add mulch around the plants, but keep it away from stems and crowns. 2 inches of shredded leaves or wood chips can suppress weeds and conserve moisture during establishment. Leave the designated bare soil patch open if you are supporting ground nesting bees. Do not create mulch volcanoes. Plants do not need bark stacked against their stems like a winter scarf. Trapped moisture can encourage rot, and the volcano shape mostly advertises that the landscaper was paid by the cubic yard. Add simple labels or a small map. During the first winter, many native perennials disappear completely. In spring, you will stare at the ground and wonder whether you planted a valuable ester there or simply developed emotional attachment to a weed. A map prevents unnecessary botanical executions. If rabbits or deer are heavy in your area, protect young plants with low fencing or individual guards. Deer-resistant does not mean deer-proof. It means the deer may eat the plant after finishing the tastier options and while maintaining direct eye contact. Water thoroughly, label everything, and protect the vulnerable plants. The first day is not difficult. The real test starts when the weather turns hot and the garden stops looking new. Step 10. Manage the first 90 days like establishment, not life support. New native plants may become drought-tolerant later, but fresh roots still occupy a small volume of soil. During the first few weeks, check moisture regularly. Water deeply when the root zone begins to dry. In hot weather or sandy soil, that may be several times a week at first. In clay or cool weather, much less. Use your finger, a trowel, or a moisture check. Do not water by calendar while ignoring the ground. Deep watering encourages roots to move downward. A daily light sprinkle keeps roots near the surface and trains plants to expect room service. Water slowly at soil level, preferably in the morning. Wet leaves overnight can increase disease pressure, especially in humid climates. After the first month, gradually reduce frequency while increasing the depth of each watering. By the end of the first growing season, many well-matched native perennials should need supplemental water, mainly during extended dry periods. Some moisture-loving species will need more. Some desert species will resent you for hovering. Again, the site decides. Weeding is the other first-year job. Spend 10 minutes once or twice a week pulling small weeds. That is far easier than spending one furious Saturday wrestling mature weeds that have produced enough seed to establish a dynasty. Learn the young leaves of your planted species. Photos taken on planting day help, so do labels. Pull only what you can identify. Aster seedlings, milkweed shoots, and volunteer native plants can resemble weeds when small. Meanwhile, actual weeds often grow with the confidence of a plant that knows you are uncertain. Do not fertilize unless a soil test and plant needs give you a clear reason. Native plants are not lazy because they are short in year one. They are building roots. The first season can look underwhelming, sometimes like 12 expensive green socks sitting in mulch. That is normal. Sleep, creep, leap is an old gardening phrase. The first year plants establish roots. The second year they fill space. The third year many reach their real presence. It is not a strict law, but it is a useful emotional support program for impatient gardeners. The first 90 days decide whether the bed becomes resilient or remains dependent. Water with attention, weed early, and stop trying to force instant maturity. You are growing habitat, not microwaving it. Step 11. Maintain the garden for insects, not for a magazine photo in February. When flowers fade, resist the urge to cut everything immediately. Seed heads feed birds. Hollow and pithy stems can shelter overwintering insects. Fallen leaves protect soil and provide habitat for moths, butterflies, beetles, and countless small creatures that have no interest in your leaf blower's personal ambitions. Leave much of the standing growth through winter. In spring, wait until the weather has warmed and insect activity has resumed. Then cut stems in stages, leaving some standing at different heights. Place cut stems loosely in a back corner for a while rather than grinding every piece instantly. This gives hidden occupants a chance to emerge. You can still keep the bed tidy. Cut back plants that flop across sidewalks. Remove diseased foliage when appropriate. Maintain a crisp edge, thin aggressive spreaders. Divide crowded clumps. Ecological gardening does not require surrendering your front path to goldenrod. Deadheading can extend bloom on some species, but do it selectively. Leave enough seed heads for wildlife and natural regeneration. If one plant self-seeds too enthusiastically, remove most of its spent flowers before seeds mature. A native plant can still be a bully. Local citizenship is not a guarantee of good manners. Avoid broad-spectrum insecticides, including products marketed as natural, if they kill insects indiscriminately. A pollinator garden with routine insecticide use is a nightclub that sprays the guests at the door. Accept some chewed leaves. Caterpillars are not vandalism. They are the childhood stage of the butterflies you claim to invite. Also, reduce outdoor lighting near the bed when possible. Bright lights at night can disrupt moths and other nocturnal insects. Use warm, shielded lights only where needed for safety. Each spring, check what survived and where gaps appeared. Replace failures with plants better suited to the exact spot. If a species repeatedly collapses in wet soil, stop buying it. The plant is not receiving your motivational speeches. This is where a small garden becomes smarter over time. You observe, adjust, divide successful plants, collect some seed, and spend less each year. The garden center would prefer a yearly emergency. Your bed should become an inheritance. Step 12. Know what success looks like after 1 year, 2 years, and 3. In the first year, success is survival, root growth, and a few blooms. You may see small bees, flower flies, beetles, wasps, or one butterfly checking the new garden. Do not measure the project only by monarchs. Pollinators include a huge range of insects, many of them tiny, quiet, and far less interested in posing for your camera. In the second year, plant groups begin to connect. The mulch becomes less visible. Blooming shifts overlap. You may notice different visitors at different flowers. Flat-topped clusters can attract small bees and beneficial wasps. Tubular flowers draw long-tongued bees and hummingbirds. Open daisy shapes become landing platforms for insects that apparently prefer an airport with very generous runways. By the third year, the garden should look established. You will know which plants dominate, which disappear, which need dividing, and which corners stay too wet or too dry. The maintenance changes from constant establishment care to editing. Pull a weed here, thin a spreader there, water during real drought, then stand back and let the plants do the work. The biggest signs of success are not perfection, they are continuity and resilience. Something blooms in spring, summer, and fall. The bed survives local weather. Insects find it. Pesticides are absent. Soil is mostly covered by living plants. Winter stems and leaves remain long enough to serve habitat. Your mowing route becomes 100 square feet shorter, which is a small but deeply satisfying victory over machinery. There are 4 common reasons a new bed fails. The first is choosing plants by flower color instead of site conditions. Purple does not compensate for drowning. The second is planting one of everything. Pollinators struggle to find scattered single plants, and the design looks nervous. The third is leaving live lawn beneath thin mulch. Grass returns through every gap with the persistence of a salesperson who has already parked in your driveway. The fourth is expecting a mature meadow in one season. The first year is roots. The second year is structure. The third year is where the garden starts showing off. So let us put the whole plan together. Mark a 10 by 10 patch or another shape totaling about 100 square feet. Confirm sun, drainage, soil, utilities, and local rules. Remove the lawn completely. Choose 8 or 9 regionally native species that cover early, summer, and fall bloom. Include at least one host plant and add grasses or sedges. Buy roughly 24 to 30 plugs or fewer larger plants based on mature spacing. Arrange them in groups of 3 or 5 with taller plants in back or center. Plant at the correct depth, water deeply, mulch carefully, weed for 10 minutes each week, and leave much of the garden standing through winter. That is the whole transformation. Not a fantasy garden requiring 5 acres, a tractor, and a person named Chip who owns a landscape company. 100 square feet, a shovel, a plan. Enough patience to let roots do their quiet work. Your lawn was a green expense that asked for mowing, water, fertilizer, and applause. This garden gives something back. Flowers for you, food for pollinators, leaves for caterpillars, stems for nesting insects, seeds for birds, and one small patch of land that is finally doing more than looking obedient. For the next garden, the smartest move is to build a 12-month bloom calendar for your exact region, because the hungry gaps between flowering seasons are where good intentions often fail. That is the next video to watch. Until then, get your hands in the soil.